you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today it's going to be the update to the Fury build. This is the Summerset update for the Fury, which is the Dragonknight stamina build for PvP, and this is kind of a berserker build, like a full-on get in there, get stuck in. The more damage you take, the more damage you dish out, that kind of stuff. Now, I'm going to go over this in detail, of course, but we'll start off with the stats first of all. We're in Cyrodiil, of course, so we've got our Cyrodiil buffs, so we'll go into that first of all. Let's pop a potion first as well so we can see what our recovery is. We are sitting on... Try again. 10k max magic, 32.5k max health, and 35.6k max stamina, which is actually pretty nice across the board. We're quite tanky. We've got a lot of resources as well. 1.2, almost 1.3k stam recovery, which you can go higher if you choose different food. We have 2.5 crit resistance, and our resistance, in fact, our flat resists are 20.8 on spell resist and 17.2k on physical resist. So we're fairly tanky for a 5 medium setup. We're also using the Lovermunder Stone, which you can actually change to the Warrior if you prefer. Depends on whether you're up against lots of shield targets or whether you're up against lots of medium or heavy armor targets. Whichever one you find yourself mostly up against, then choose your stone accordingly. It's up to you. But I prefer this one, just for when the shields are down, I can go through the resist a lot quicker. And of course, we are a stage 4 vampire, and we're using max health, max stamina food. Now, Stage 4 Vampire, will go over that as to why we're doing it, but the food, we're using max health, max stamina, and if you preference otherwise, you can of course use Dubious Command and Throne instead of the max health, max stam stuff. This does give you health and stamina, but it also gives you recovery as well. Just bear in mind that while you're using this, of course, your recovery will be higher, but your flat stats will be less. So if we pop a potion again, instead of 1.3 almost, we've got almost 1.8. So that's a choice you can make. It's entirely up to you. I personally preference this one because I heavy attack quite a bit, but depends on the situation. Now, I'm going to go over the skills in detail, so if you're not familiar with these, I will explain them all completely from start to finish. If you are familiar, of course, you can skip the majority of them if you want, but I wouldn't advise it if you're new to this type of build. So, first of all, we have... Let's go to the house. Makes a lot more sense, because I can use a skeleton to show you exactly what they do. Okay, so first of all, we have Critical Rush. This is in the two-hander skill line. It's the second ability to unlock in the game. It's very quick. And what this does is basically your gap closer. Between 3.5 meters up to 22 meters, you will actually charge at the enemy. Now, of course, this does deal physical damage on impact, but also deals more damage the further away you are from the initial kind of activation of the ability. So, basically, if you're up against a target, say a few meters away, like 4 or 5 meters, it will do a set amount of damage. It always crits, by the way. It's guaranteed crit. But the further you're away, the more damage it does. There you go, there's a flat 10k there instead of 8.4. Now if you're up obviously with Major Brutality, there'll be a lot more. Let's get further. There you go, 10.1. So the further you're away, the more damage you will do anyway. That's your gap closer. So if someone's running away or you want to just get in a fight really quick, you want to be using that skill. It's not something you use in face of enemy, although you can use it quite close, but obviously the further away the better. Next one is Dizzy Swing. This is actually the first ability you unlock in the two-hander skill line, and you morph it to Dizzy Swing. Now, Wreck and Blow is the other morph of this, which means every time you fire it off, you will empower your next attack. However, this particular one has a knockdown effect. Now, you won't see it on the skeleton because they are treated the same as bosses, so you won't see the knockdown, but basically it's just a wound-up uppercut under the chin. One of those. Big one of those. Really hurts. Now, it'll knock the enemy down, of course, unless they are immune to CC. Perhaps they've got immovable pots running, or they've just been stunned already for a few seconds. They can't be knocked down, but while they can be knocked down, this will knock them flying. It'll knock them back for 4 meters, and it'll stun them for 3.5 seconds, which is plenty of time for you to get in and kill them. Next ability is Camo Hunter or Camouflage Hunter. This is in the Fighters Guild skill line. You can swap this out for other things, but I'll go over that in a second. This is the third ability you unlock, and this is Evil Hunter to start with. Camouflage Hunter is very unique in the way that it allows you to get a minor berserk bonus, a little buff to your damage if you crit from stealth while this is on your bar. Also, it gives you 2191 crit chance for having it slotted, which you can get from potions and stuff as well, and other things, but this basically is 10% increased crit chance. Now, I know crit chance isn't that valid if you're up against lots of impenetrable targets. However, you do want to make sure your heals do crit, so that's very important. And of course, you can activate this and decloak enemies. So if you use this, like that, for 5 seconds, anyone near you will be revealed if they are hidden. Now, another very important point to this, especially as regarding the sneak, is that if you do sneak and you crit something from sneak, you will get that bonus to minor berserk. However, there's a little trick to this, and I'm going to explain that when I get to rally in just a moment. First of all, just in case you don't want to use that skill, you can of course fit Noxus Breath, which is a 10-second damage over time, flame breath ability, but with a poison effect instead of flame, and you basically breathe on the targets. Anyone caught in that, in a cone effect in front of you, will receive a debuff of Major Fracture, reducing their physical resistance by 5280, which is nasty. So if you're doing lots of physical damage and they're a bit tanky, you hit them with that and you'll be doing a lot more damage than you normally would. Very, very nice indeed. But I preference this one in most situations because I like to kind of sneak up on stuff and get my my first kill from sneak if I can. Now, the next ability is Rally. Rally is very, very important. This is in the two-handed skill line, and this is the last one you unlock, so it does take quite a while to get. Starts off as Momentum, but then you morph it to Rally, and this will give you Major Brutality for 33 seconds, increasing your weapon damage by 20%. Obviously, you want to keep that on us 100% of the time, so don't let it run out. However, while it's active, every 2 seconds you'll heal yourself for almost 1k, which can crit, and the 1.5k heal that you get there will be given to you when the ability ends. It doesn't mean when it runs out, it means when it ends, whether it is expired or whether you end it. So you can reapply it, end the old one, and take that heal. However, after the final heal, so to speak, the actual heal you get is 564% increased, depending on the length of the time that the rally has been active. So it's up to 564% on top of what you've already got, or increase from what you've already got. Now, how this works is, if I activate it now, I'm going to get a 1.5k heal in 2 seconds if I reactivate it. But it's been up for 4 seconds, so I get 3.1. Now I get 4.5, 5.3, and you see where I'm going with this. It gets stronger and stronger and stronger. We'll leave it for a few more seconds. It gets stronger and stronger and stronger. There you go, 7.4. We're going up to 10k heal here. The longer the ability is active, just leave it running, you'll get heal every 2 seconds. As soon as you reclaim it, reactivate the ability and take that pot, it will heal you. So this isn't something you want to spam. You don't want to use it and then use it again to get the 1.5k heal. That's useless. It's a waste of stamina. Let it run, let yourself get down quite low, and then pop it when it's almost ready to run out. Or let it expire if you want to get the big heal if you're in trouble, but you do want to reapply as soon as possible. My personal recommendation for you would be to not let it run out. Just keep it active all the time, and if you see it ticking too low, take that heal. Now, why is this relevant to Camouflage Hunter? It is because this heals us once every 2 seconds. Even if we're full health, it's still registering a heal. And that can crit, bases off of our crit chance in our weapon critical. And also, even though we aren't healing, it still remembers that we crit. While we're hidden, if we crit that heal, watch my buffs, keep watching, there you go, minor berserk. So while you're sneaking, while rally is ticking over, you can actually critical heal, and every time you do, it will reapply minor berserk. It lasts for 8 seconds, you do 8% increased damage to anyone you hit, but it can constantly be reapplied. It's going all the time, it's constantly ticking. As long as you crit one heal during rally, that ability will be with you all the time. And then if you have a heavy attack bonus, which we'll explain in a moment, with that active, come on, tick over. If this is your heavy attack damage. That's disgusting. 36.8. That's obviously not versus a player. The player will take a lot less damage because in Cyrodiil and PvP the damage is reduced, but it's still a bloody big hit. And also, if you're Telvar farming, you kill stuff really, really fast. Now, that's going to be very relevant when I get to the gear, because the gear is quite shiny. Anyway, we'll move on to the next ability. This is Reverse Slice. Now, Reverse Slice is in a two-handed skill as well, surprise, surprise. And this is our main Execute. It's a fourth ability to unlock. It takes a little while to get to, but once you've morphed it from Reverse Slash, you need to turn it into Reverse Slice. This one, instead of doing a little bit more single target damage, which the other morph does, this one does very high execute damage in terms of the lower the target's health, the more damage you do, but at the same time, it will also splash damage enemies. So, what you do basically, when the enemy is low health, I always do a light attack first. I light attack and then hit it, because it does more damage, obviously. But you can see at the moment, it doesn't do that much. But it scales off of their health. So the lower their health, the more damage it does. And it can hit really, really hard. But not only that, once he's de-aggroed, I'll show you exactly what it does splash damage-wise. But it can hit enemies around you as well. So if you're in the middle of a Zerg, and this build is made for that, you want to be up against as many targets as possible. In a group, preferably. Not so much on your own. Watch. The target beside him will get hit. and the one next to him will get hit, and so on and so forth. Anyone caught close by will take splash damage, and it is based on a percentage of the damage done. So the low health target is the one you want to aim at, because you'll get the most out of this, and that will obviously scale up the splash damage. So if there's, say, 3 or 4 enemies here and he's almost dead, so he's like 10% health, and you whack him really hard, enough that you can kill him, these all around him are going to take some serious damage. You can just keep doing this to him, and then to his mate, and then so on and so forth. So you can get everyone down really, really quickly. It's really, really handy. But just remember that it is scaled based on the percentage of the target's health. So it says under 50%, but 50% is not that much. It doesn't do that much extra damage. Now, of course, you want to make sure that you hit them around 20 to 15% health, and if you do, you're probably going to kill them. Unless it's a tank, in which case you might want to hit them a couple more times. But basically, when they're really low health, light attack, hit, light attack, hit, light attack, hit, until they're dead, and then hit their friends as well. It's really, really powerful. Okay, so our ultimate is in our Draconic Power skill line, and this is Take Flight, more from Dragon Leap, and this is absolutely mental. It does physical damage in area of effect and knocks down all targets hit and stuns them for 2 seconds. Now this is your oh shit button and your kind of finisher, if you like, or even starter, depending on the fight, because this can knock down lots and lots of people, and it's really, really powerful. Make sure you're buffed, make sure you've got your skills on, and sometimes you can even make sure that you've got your minor berserk as well. If there's a fight, and you can sneak in and give it some of this. That is what I like to call Batman. If you do that from stealth with major berserk on, oh sorry, minor berserk, that will crit, and it's nuts. It's really, really nice. Now you can use that as your oh shit button if you want, because it will give you resources back. I'll go over the passive shortly. Or you can use it to kind of finish things off. Or what you will see when I get to the gear is that if you kill this dude here really, really quickly, and you have enough for an ultimate, if you hit him after he dies, you will hit him for a lot harder than you normally would. But again, that is gear based, and I will get to that in a moment. Now, back bar. Vigor, of course we want Resolving Vigor. This is a PvP build, so this should not be a problem to unlock this. You do need to go into PvP to get it, surprise. And you need to get Assault level 4, I think, to get this, maybe 5. I don't remember exactly when, it was a long time ago I got it. But basically, as long as you get an alliance point, you will level up your assault and support skill lines. Once you unlock Vigor, you want to morph it to Resolving Vigor. You can just kill normal trash mobs in PvE if you want to upgrade it. It levels very, very fast, only about 2 minutes worth of killing stuff. And you turn it into Resolving Vigor. The reason you do this is because this one has a stronger heal for you versus the other morph. The other one just has less heal and a bigger range. Now what this does, very simple. Anyone caught inside that, you and up to 5 other people will heal once a second. You will obviously receive a bigger heal, but everyone else will get one as well. It's your main heal alongside your rally, so you've got a burst heal here, and you've got a ticking heal here, with a passive kind of tick over for this one. But you don't want to reapply this all the time. You only want to press this once, and then let the ticks go off for 5 seconds, and then if you need to do it again, do it again. Don't do this. I see people doing this all the time, constantly spamming it. Look at my stamina. It's getting drained to hell. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let it run out to 0, and then reapply it if you need to. It's not like Rally, where if you reapply it, you get a big heal for the stacking up bonuses. You just press it, and that's it. Very simple. But I see people doing it wrong quite a lot, so just be aware that if you keep applying it, it's not going to do anything. Just let it run out. Next one is Poison Injection. This is the last ability you unlock in the bow skill line. This does take some time to get, but once you unlock it, you want to turn it into Poison Injection, originally Poison Arrow. This is an execute ability, but it's got a nasty dot at the same time. Basically, it's a poison damage over time effect, and it lasts for 10 seconds, but the lower the target's health, the more aggressive it gets per tick. So if the target is dipping and dipping and dipping while this ability is active on them, the lower they go, the more damage they will take. And if they're really, really low health and Poison Injection is already on them, not only is that going to do loads and loads of damage, but this is definitely going to finish them off. It's very, very strong. I always have that on every single target, and you want to make sure that you hit the target with that very early on. That is based on gear as well, so that is essential. It's a very important skill. Volatile Armor. This is actually, you can do 2 different morphs of this. You can use Volatile Armor, or you can use the other one, which gives you the Hardened Armor, which gives you a damage shield. Very small one, but it gives you a damage shield nonetheless. But this increases our resistance. Major Resolve and Major Ward, increasing our physical resist and our spell resistance by 5280 for 20 seconds. It's very, very nice. Anyone you do hit, by the way, will take magic damage. Not a lot of it, but it can keep them out of stealth because it's a dot, and it can sometimes break them. So if they're hiding around near you and you prop this, you can kind of reveal them unless they dodge it. But the main point of this is for the resist buff. Now there are some passives that go alongside this, but we'll get to those in a moment. You don't have to slot this if you don't want to, but it'll stop you being quite so squishy. We're a berserker type. We are going to get in the thick of it. We are going to intend on taking damage, not to kill us, but to buff our damage. So when I get to the set, you'll understand, of course, that the more you get hit, the more damage you'll do, and the more you kill, the more damage you do. So this has to be in the face. So you do need a resist buff because you are going to get hit. Now this is in the Draconic Power skill line. It's the first ability you unlock, so you get it very, very early in the game. In fact, it's the first ability in this skill line that you get. You don't even need to unlock it. You get given it at the beginning. So make sure you have that. Now, Molten Armaments is the second ability you unlock in the Earth and Heart skill line. I use this because when you activate it, for 39.6 seconds, you actually get 40% increased heavy attack damage. That's the bow, the two-hander, anything. Any heavy attack damage you do will be increased by 40%, and that's massive. We do heavy attack for our sustain. We are going to need to, so make sure you hit really, really hard. And as you saw from the sneaking heavy attack, it can hit a stupid amount from stealth, so it's very, very strong indeed. You don't have to use that. You can use Igneous Shields instead if you want to buff your heals to make sure they're a bit stronger. You can kind of activate this, shield yourself, and your heals will be 25% stronger for the next 3 seconds. So you can activate this, then Vigor, then get out of trouble if you want, or you can actively use this and just have stronger heavy attack. The choice is yours, but I really, really like this for kind of sneaky, really big heavy attack stuff. The last ability, of course, before the ultimate is Lethal Arrow. This is in the bow skill line. It's the first ability you unlock. You get it very, very early on. There are 2 morphs to this, but this is the morph I personally preference. It was Snipe to start with. You can morph it to Lethal Arrow, and it will give you a nasty, nasty poison kind of snipe effect. But this particular morph also affects the enemy with Major Defile, which reduces their healing received and health recovery by 30%. This is something that people miss out a lot in PvP. I know there's a lot of sets that do it, but the average player, shall we say, misses this debuff. They usually forget that the enemy needs to have their healing reduced. People heal a stupid amount in PvP, especially Templars, like the Healer Templars and the Healer Warden types. They're really, really nasty. You want to make sure that you reduce the amount of healing they can do. Otherwise, they are going to never die. So when you see like an Emperor or something and everyone's running after it, spamming the crap out of light attacks and he's not dying, get a Defile on him. Major or minor or both. This ability applies it straight away. If you see people purifying it, however, if you're familiar with that term, then reapply it as soon as you can. But this is something I use all the time. As soon as I get in a fight, sometimes from stealth because it does more damage, of course. But basically, you hit them with this, and then poison injection, and then get in. That burst already is enough to knock them down. So it's really, really nice. So hit them with a heavy, snipe, light, poison, crit rush, get in, execute. There's lots of stuff you can do with it, but basically you must make sure that Major Defile is on the target all the time, because if it's not, they will heal the crap out of your damage. Get them down, make sure they can't heal properly. If you get this on at the right time, and then you hit them with a poison injection, and then kind of crit rush your way in and try to finish them off, by the time they've thought about getting a heal on, they haven't even realised that Major Defile is on them, and their heal's useless. If you don't defile them, you're not going to kill them. Especially shield stackers, they're really hard to get rid of. Now, the last ability is the ultimate that we mostly use in really big fights. I mean, if you have enough take flight, of course, get stuck in. It's really, really strong. But if you manage to save up 200 ultimate for some reason, you want to use this. This is in the Earth and Heart skill line. It's called Corrosive Armor, and this lasts for 10.8 seconds. And if you activate this, you can only take a maximum of 3% of your max health in damage for every hit you get hit with for that amount of time. Also, you will go straight through all physical resistance. So even if they're a tank with 45k resistance, for example, you debuff them with Major Fracture, they're now down to 40. Someone debuffs them with something else and you've got penetration bonuses and you put them down to 30. They're still not far off cap. You're still not going to hit them for barely anything at all because their resists are huge. But if you activate this, their resists for you are considered 0 until this runs out. So you will hit them very, very hard indeed. This also does poison AoE damage as well, which can proc a status effect. The status effect for poison, by the way, is a chance, while poison damage is ticking, to apply a 6-second damage over time ability, which is also poison, which hurts a lot. It can be cleansed, but it really, really hurts. So this is kind of your God mode button, where you do shit tons of damage and you hardly can be killed, especially if you're healing over top of it. Or you've got your take flight, which is basically knock everyone down and go to hell. It's absolutely crazy. This, by the way, again, for anyone that watches my stream, this isn't called take flight. This is called Batman. Everybody knows it as Batman because we usually jump off towers and just flatten people with it. It's really, really fun. Now, I'm going to get into the passives. This is very, very important, so I wouldn't advise skipping this if you're not familiar with the Dragonknight, especially if you're not that attuned to PvP as well. These are going to be very, very important. Now, class passives first of all. Ardent Flame is of course very, very important. Increases the damage of your burning and poison status effects by 50%. We are doing poison damage, so we do want to make sure that we get this bonus because it does give us the increased damage if we do proc a poison status effect. So what I just said a moment ago, we have a chance to get that extra dot. This will increase its damage. No other class has that much damage to poison apart from us. It's really, really nice. And of course, while you are actually doing poison damage once every 5 seconds, you can actually claim back 500 stamina just for doing so. It's really, really strong, but that is only if the poisoned status effect is active. So it's really, really nice. Now, when you deal damage with Ardent Flame ability, you reduce the movement speed of the enemy, which is quite nice. Of course, if we do hit them with our breath, which we sometimes use, sometimes not, if you do use the breath, you will snare them slightly. It's not massive, but it will help. So you got Noxus Breath here, you can use that, it will snare them. If not, don't worry too much about the passive, you can probably just leave it alone. Increase the damage of your Fiery Breath, Searing Strike, and Dragonknight standard abilities. The only one we would likely to use is the Fiery Breath, which is the Noxus Breath morphed from Fiery Breath. Again, if you do use that skill, this will increase its damage. And increases the damage of your Flame and Poison Area of Effect abilities. Again, that ability, once more, if you do use it, this will boost its damage. So most of this is based on that particular skill for us, because there are other abilities, but that's the only one I really use. So if you don't use it, you don't necessarily need these 3 passives. But if you do, I would highly recommend getting them. But above all, definitely get this combustion, because if you do proc a poison status effect, you will get resources back. It's very, very important. Draconic Power, this is obviously important because of course we are using an ability in this skill line. You can use Reflective Scales, by the way, I forgot to mention that. The Earth and Heart skill on the back bar, Molten Armaments, or what was it called? Igneous Shields. If you don't use one of those, you can use this instead, and if you morph this, this will actually allow you to reflect projectiles. Up to 4 of them within 6 seconds. So it's kind of like a shield, but instead of protecting you from damage, it will reflect projectiles at the enemy. So if you get hit with a crystal shard or something like that, it will fire it back at the target. It's tricky and you have to time it, but if you can get away with it, go for it. A lot of people like this. There's one morph where it returns 35% extra damage to the target, which is handy. Or you can morph it so that it actually makes you remove snare abilities. Choice is yours, however. Now, passives in here. Increase the amount of damage you can block by 10%. You will be blocking. You do want to make sure you take less damage when you do so. While Draconic Power ability is active, your healing received is increased by 12%. Now, this here, this ticking every 2 seconds, and the big heal from Rally will be improved. This will be improved if you have this ability, the resist buff, active. You just have to have it active. If it's not active, you won't receive the additional bonus heals. So make sure that this resist buff is on all the time if you can keep up with the timers. Look in this, the buff timers at the bottom there. You can see what it looks like. It's the orange background with the purple dude in the middle with the spikes firing out. Keep that active. If it's not there, apply it. That will keep your heals up. Very, very important stuff. This one is not that important. It increases our health recovery by 5% for each Draconic Power ability slotted. Now, we have one, which is a bit crap, to be honest. So we're not really worried about this. You don't have to get the passive if you don't want to, but if you do want to, we do have an ability on both bars. We've got obviously the Take Flight on one bar, and we have the Volatile Armor on the other. So you do get the bonus on both sides if you really want to, but it will be tiny. This, however, you do want to get. Increases your spell resistance by 3299, which is, of course, essential for the DK. We have huge magic resistance. We are going to get hit with a lot of crystal shards and all that kind of stuff, so make sure you get this passive as soon as possible. Earth and Heart, important stuff indeed. Increases the duration of your Earth and Heart abilities by 20%. Now that affects both of our Corrosive Armor, our Molten Armaments, and of course it does actually affect this as well, our Igneous Shields, if we chose to use it. So that increases the duration, meaning we can make them more efficient. Battle Roar is incredibly important. You restore 48 health, 46 magicka, and 46 stamina for each point of an ultimate's cost. Now this here, our oh shit button, is 110 ultimates, so it's very, very cheap, but for every 1 point of that ultimate, you'll get those resources back. So it's really, really nice. Every time you use an ultimate, you get stuff back. Health, magic, and stamina. But the more expensive, the better. So if you are running really, really low and you got 200 ultimate, this will be your better option, of course, because this gives us a lot more back. But the situation depends on which one you're more likely to use. It's entirely up to you. This is very important. When you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you and your group members within 30 meters gain minor brutality for 20 seconds, increasing their weapon damage by 5%. That's you and them. you and 5 other people. So if they're in range, they'll get this buff. It's really, really handy. Also, if you are in combat at the time, you will also gain 3 ultimate every time you activate an Earth and Heart ability. So if you press this, you'll get 3 ultimate. If you wait 6 seconds, press it again, you'll get another 3. Also note that this minor brutality bonus is 20 seconds, while this buff is 40 seconds almost. Don't press this once and then leave everyone with a minor brutality off for 20 seconds. If you can reapply this once every 20 seconds without running out of magicka, people can have 100% uptime on this minor brutality bonus. Small scale PvP kind of stuff to keep an eye on those little buffs if you want, but if you can keep up with it, it's really, really nice. Failing that, just activate it for yourself when you need to. Helping Hands, this is very, very important. Also for activating one of the Earth and Heart abilities, you will gain 990 stamina back. So, for activating this, minor brutality, stamina back, ultimate back, and increased heavy attack damage. Very, very important indeed. Done with those. Two-hander. Of course, you want every single one of these. Your light and heavy attacks damage up to 3 nearby enemies for 66% of the damage inflicted on the primary target. So as you can see, I'm going to hit this target, just him, not him. Watch the numbers above their heads. They both get hit. Heavies as well, they both get hit. However high this number is depends on how hard he gets hit. It's splash damage. So if you keep swinging light attacks in close quarter situations, or doing some really big heavies, or some heavies and executes, there's a lot of splash damage going on. Really, really nice. So you get stuck in. Really big kind of brawler type berserker ability right there. So the more enemies around you, the more damage you will do. This one is based on your weapon type. So if you have a sword, you increase your damage by 5%, your overall flat damage. If you have an axe, you have a 16% chance to cause a bleed effect on the target for 6 seconds, which is really nasty. It goes straight through resistances. There's nothing they can do about it. You can cleanse it, but you can't actually resist it. It's really, really nuts. Or you can use a mace, which goes through 20% of your target's physical resistance. I am actually using a mace because I want to make sure that if I'm up against something that's medium or heavy or even light without a shield active, I want to make sure I go through as much of their physical resistance as possible. So I use a mace, but the choice is actually yours. Balanced Blade obviously reduces the cost of your abilities. You want to make sure they're cheap because we don't want to run out of juice. When you deal damage with your fully charged heavy attack, your next direct damage attack used within 7 seconds deals an additional 10% damage. Now you'll notice that I did heavy attack execute. That is because, if you look here, look at the buff timers. Not the one with the sword, the one with the fist and little face, the orange circle. That one there. That, if you do a heavy attack first, not only do you get resources back, but your next direct damage ability will hit harder. You'll notice I'll consume the ability. So I'll heavy attack. Watch it, it's got 6 seconds left. Now it's gone. It means basically if you heavy first, execute second, or heavy first, dizzy and swing second, it will hit harder by 10%. It's really, really nice. Always heavy attack first if you can get away with it. It's really strong. This increases stamina recovery by 30% for 10 seconds after killing a target. So this setup is actually made, I've been over it slightly once already, for the more damage you take, the more damage you deal. The more damage you do, the more damage you will actually deal as well, because if you kill something, you have a bonus increase to your overall flat damage. And of course, if you do kill something, you actually get a really high stam recovery bonus, so you can kind of stay in the fight. Every single thing that you kill will give you this extra bonus. It'll reapply it. So it's really, really nice indeed. So get stuck in, get as much damage and heavy attacks in there as you possibly can, and every kill you get will just reapply that buff, giving you that massive, massive stamina recovery bonus. Now, the bow skills you are going to need, these are a pain to level up, of course, because you're mostly on your front bar, but they're very, very important. This will give you a bonus damage to targets that are at longer distance. So, if I snipe him in the face, yes, I applied main poison effect, actually. I forgot about that. This also applies a poison status effect, by the way, guaranteed. So you remember that a poison status effect is chance-based? This ability actually has it active on it, it applies it. So not only do you hit him for the really high damage, but you also hit him for the poison status as well, and Major Defile. Now, if I snipe him in the face, like I said, that's 16k hit. Now if I snipe him from here, let me get a crit out of this. Nope. Come on, crit. Come on! 17. Bit of a difference there. So the further away you are, the harder it will hit. Oh, that wasn't a crit. 19 from there. If you got Major Brutality on, of course. I think it's up to 20 meters or so, but if you're around 20 meters or so away, you will hit much, much harder. But obviously, you want to be at distance when you start approaching the fight anyway, because remember, our crit rush, this one, does more damage from range. So, snipe first, light attack, poison injection, crit rush in. Everything you just did on approach was stronger because you were at a distance. You want to make sure you kind of come from a long distance and then get stuck in really, really fast. It's really important. And the bow skill obviously gives you a increased burst, if you like, because you're at range. Now, other abilities or passives, in fact, that are very, very important, of course, is the crit chance. It does give you an increased crit chance. This will reduce the stamina cost of the bow abilities by 15%. You want to make sure they're cheap. Hawkeye, if you do light attack, you will get 5% additional damage to your bow abilities for 5 seconds. Every time you do this, it will stack up another time. So 5%, 10%, 15, 20, 25, and so on. Up to 25 at most. Every time you reapply a light attack, it will restart the timer, meaning it will stay where it is. Every time you stop light or heavy attacking, every 5 seconds, it will reset to 0. So to get this at peak, you obviously want to keep light attacking all the time, but we're not built for that. But what you do want to do is make sure you get some of the bonus to make sure that you can actually light attack in between to get your abilities kind of boosted. So if you light and poison, you'll see that there's a Hawkeye passive at the bottom there, the little circle with the eye in it. If you keep up a light attack on your bow, that will stay with you. We won't be using it all the time, but the burst is nice. However, there is a bit of a bonus to that if you're at range. If it's a really big fight, you can't quite get in there yet, the healers haven't arrived, you're in trouble, you can kind of just be a bit trolley and just keep light attacks up. Because if you do, and you get that to maximum, it's got 5 stacks, and then you snipe them, it's going to really hurt. Can we get a really big crit? 22k. So if you get those light attacks on first and then hit them, you're going to piss people off with long-range kills. It's really, really quick. But they're situational. Anyway, it's good to understand that passive if you can. You're not going to use it all the time. You'll probably get like 1 or 2 procs of it on the approach. But if you do understand how it fully works, you can kind of keep some light attacks from range, especially on a siege fight where you're up on the castle walls. It's really, really handy. Hasty retreat, of course, if you dodge roll with the bow, you run faster for 5 seconds. Be careful with it, because if you dodge roll too close to another dodge roll, like a previous one, you will get penalized for it, and the cost will be increased by your next one. So if you dodge roll here and then dodge roll again and again, you'll see it costs more and more and more. It gets really, really expensive. So don't over dodge roll. But if you do dodge roll, you will run faster. If you look at your feet while they're green, that means that you are in penalty kind of area. So if you dodge roll now, you're fine. You can do all your stuff. If I dodge roll when they're still green, it will cost more stamina. And again, it'll go up and up and up. Kind of like streak for the sword. You can see now it's going to cost me like nearly 10k to dodge roll. 7 in fact. It's disgusting. Don't over spam it. But again, if you want to get away quickly, dodge roll first, run second. Now, light armor. We are using 1 piece of light armor, so you can use these 3 bonuses here. It'll give you magical recovery per piece. We've got 1 piece, so we get a 4% bonus. You get reduction to cost for each piece worn, which is 2% bonus here. And of course, you get spell resistance as well. We are using a couple of magical abilities here, so you do want to make sure you get the cost down a little bit and increase your recovery so you can use them more often. It's not massive, but it will help. Medium, get every single one of these. Increases your weapon crit chance, increases your stam recovery based on each piece worn, and of course, it reduces the cost of your abilities. So we're using 5 pieces of medium, so we get a really big bonus there. This reduces the cost of your sneak by 35%, which is very, very important in PvP. You do want to make sure that you get that bonus to sneak, because you're going to be doing it most of the time, especially since we're a vampire, because we're going to move really fast in sneak. Also, it reduces the size of your detection area while sneaking by 5% per piece worn, so we can actually sneak a little bit closer to people without being spotted. Also increases your weapon damage by 12%, so if you have 5 pieces on, like we do, we have an increased weapon damage bonus. And we have an increased speed while sprinting based on how many pieces of medium we're wearing, and of course reduction to dodge roll cost, which is very, very important because we're going to use that to evade damage. Heavy armor, we're using 1 piece of heavy, so we want to make sure we get these 3 passives here. This one will give us increased physical and spell resistance. This one will give us resources back if we get hit. It's not massive, but it does count. And also we get a 2% increase of our max health per heavy piece worn. We're using 1, we want to get that 2% extra bonus. It can make the difference between life and death in some situations. It's very important indeed. But don't worry about these 2 because they're for 5 pieces of heavy and we're only using 1. This skill line here, this is what you mostly get from thieving and selling stolen goods and pickpocket and stuff like that. You are going to want to get this up at some point because the first passive here, if you max it out, it gives you a reduction to sneak by 40%, which is huge. We've already got the bonus here in medium armor, which is here, which is 35% bonus. You've got 35 there, and you've got 40 here. So our sneaking is really, really cheap. Now I'm going to show you the sneak in a moment, but I want to get to Vampire first. Vampire is very, very important because it gives us an increased 10% recovery, and it also gives us that from both Magicka and Stamina. Not just one or the other, for both of them, just for being a Vampire. We don't even have to put any abilities on. Also, while you are low health, the lower the health, the less damage you take, and that's very, very crucial. We want to make sure we can take damage because we are going to get in the thick of it, and our sets complement that. So you are going to need to take quite a lot of quite a big beating, if you like. Now, while you're under 50% health, you can take up to 33% less damage. So you're very, very tanky while you're squished really, really low. So there's a lot of situations where you'll find yourself with like 2 or 3k health. Don't panic, you're not dead yet, and it's very hard for them to kill you because of this mitigation bonus. This is actually quite funny. This makes you ignore movement speed while crouching. This is why I said your sneak cost reduction is very, very important. And it also decreases the time it takes to crouch at night. While you're a vampire, you hide really fast at night. You can see I'm instantly hidden, like within a second. 1, 2, done. Now, not only that, you move full speed. Like I'm almost running. Now look at my stamina. Look how it's draining while I'm sneaking. It's not going down very, very quick. It's really, really, really slow. Because of all the passive bonuses I've got to sneak cost, and the fact I'm a vampire, I can move full speed and cost barely any stamina. What I do is stop for a second and I'm full again. It's really, really quick. So very, very important indeed. So mitigation bonuses, recovery bonuses, and of course sneak bonuses. Really good stuff. Now, Fighters Guild, make sure of course that you do buy these passives, because if you do activate Evil Hunter or Camouflage Hunter, it will cost, and you want to get the cost down because we don't want to waste stamina unnecessarily, especially not when you're trying to decloak someone. So if you're running around trying to do this and find out where they are, which you can do in Sneak, by the way, you can do this and try and find them. Don't spam it, just let it activate for 5 seconds and then reapply it. It's expensive. 15% reduction to cost means a lot. You want to make sure you get that. Also, you want to get Slayer next. Make sure that you have this as soon as possible, because if you do, you get a 3% increase to your weapon damage for a Fighter's Guild ability being slotted. So for every one that you have slotted, you get 3%. We have 1, so we get the 3% bonus. Banish the Wicked is very important. If you kill Undead, Daedra, or Werewolf, you will get 9 ultimate back, meaning you can use your ultimate a lot quicker, obviously, and we get resources back from our ultimates, which is really, really important. Your Fighters Guild abilities deal an additional 20% damage to Undead, Daedra, or Werewolves. We are not actually using any aggressive Fighters Guild abilities, but if you do decide that you would rather use Dawnbreaker or even Silver Bolts or Beast Trap or anything like that at any point in time, if you do, you will make sure that they do more damage to Undead, Daedra, or Werewolves. That's going to be quite relevant with the Wolf Hunter DLC, which is coming very, very soon, because of course I'm sure there's going to be a shit ton of werewolves. There's already a lot of vampires. They do get hit really hard with a Dawnbreaker. So if you favor this, that's entirely up to you. You will get a weapon damage bonus for slotting it, and you'll also hit them really, really hard. So that's up to you. What else have we got? Undaunted. Get this as soon as possible if you take a synergy, and you should be, especially in PvP, because you want to make sure you get purified by healers. You want to make sure you pick up spears or chain people or take damage shields or whatever synergies you're seeing. Make sure you take them, because if you do, you get 4% of all your resources back. Every synergy will give you your stamina, health, and your magicka a bit of a boost. It will give you 4% of it back into your bar. So it's like popping a very small potion, aside from what this synergy actually does as well. It's really, really handy. Make sure you pay attention to those. Also, this here will give us a 2% increased bonus to our max magicka, our max stamina, and our max health. This is giving us a 6% bonus because we're using 3 types of armor. You get 2% per type of armor. 1 light piece, 1 heavy piece, 5 medium pieces. Light, heavy, medium, 3 pieces, 3 different types, 6% across the board. Really, really good, especially in PvP, because we do want to make sure we've got as high resources as we can possibly get alongside the rest of our base stats. Once you get to Assault 10, you can unlock all of these, but you just unlock these as you go. I mean, you don't have to have them right away, but as soon as you've got the spare skill points to do so, especially if you're active in Cyrodiil, this is going to be really, really important. This will increase your weapon damage and your spell damage and your magicka recovery and stam recovery all at the same time. 10% for the increased damage and 20% for the recovery for 10 whole minutes after you capture a lumber mill, a farm, a mine, or a keep. So any resources that you basically take over will give you this bonus. So it makes you kind of get in the fight, do more damage, increase your recovery, all that kind of stuff. Really, really nice. This will increase the range of your long-ranged abilities by 5 meters while near a keep. Any ability that has a range greater than 15 meters, which means this here, our critical rush, our take flight, our snipe, our poison injection, all of those just got a massive bonus to range while being near a keep. So that really, really helps. Also combat frenzy, this is bloody disgusting. Our ultimate, our Batman ultimate, costs 110 ultimate. That's it. It's really cheap. We build ultimate at 3 ulti a second just for a light attack or taking damage or healing. We also get 3 ultimate for popping an earth and heart ability, and we get 20 ultimate for every kill that we actually get. That means all you have to do is kill 5 people while passively taking ultimate from God knows what else, and you are full again. It's really, really fast, and based on how this is set up, if you're in the thick of it, you are going to do that. There are other ulti building bonuses to the set as well, which is going to make this even easier to get this ultimate back very, very fast. So the more kills you get, the better. Support is leveled up the same way as Assault. Get as many alliance points as you possibly can, and eventually you'll get to level 10. Just keep getting alliance points and they will level up as you go. This will increase your mag recovery based on however many abilities from this skill line you have slotted. We have none, so at the moment that's not relevant. But if you do have any and you switch anything out, this will help. This will increase your healing done by 20% when you are near a keep. So if you are in a big fight and you've got your Draconic Power ability active and you've got your Rally active and all the rest of it and you're near a keep, all of those will be improved because you're next to one. Also, reduces the time it takes to you to resurrect another player by 30% while you're in a PvP area. So Battlegrounds, Imperial City, the sewers or Cyrodiil, anything like that, your rezzing is done faster. Quite a lot faster. This is very, very important because you do gain alliance points for resurrecting players. Make sure you do so. Imperial, yes, of course we're Imperial as far as our race is concerned. This is very, very important in fact because we get an increased 12% max health, so we're very, very tanky. We have an increased max 10% stamina, which is really, really important of course because the bigger the pool, the more damage we do. And our melee attacks have a 10% chance to restore 6% of our max health. That is huge. If we light attack or heavy attack with our two-hander, we can actually heal for a rather large amount of our chunky health bar. So this is very, very important. It has 0 cooldown either. Really, really nice. Alchemy, of course, make sure you get medicinal use as soon as possible. We are going to be using some very expensive potions. You don't have to, but I personally preference it. And I use immovability potions, which require Wormwood, Columbine, and Mountain Flower alongside of Larkin's Tears. Now what that will do is actually give you stamina back. It will give you increased major endurance, in fact, 20% extra stamina recovery for 47.6 seconds, which is supposed to be 35. But it will give it to 47.6 if you have this maxed out. So you can have infinite uptime on that recovery. You also get the same for health recovery. You get 20% bonus, although we're a vampire, that's not that important. But both of those two bonuses also come with a burst kind of refill of health and stamina. And at the same time, you'll be immune to knockdown and disabling effects and all that good stuff for 10.4 seconds. Now, just to go over that and show you exactly what it looks like in a potion form, we'll go over to here, Creation, Larkin's Tears, Columbine, Mountain Flower, wrong one, and Wormwood. Now you can see here, you can't be knocked back, you can't be disabled, you can't be stunned for 10.4 seconds. You gain health recovery, you gain stamina, you gain stamina recovery. Really, really nice indeed. The cooldown is 45 seconds, the potion lasts for 47. Very, very important. Make sure you get that as soon as possible. You don't have to have max alchemy skills forever, you can take the points out if you want, but definitely get medicinal use. Pretty sure that's it for the passives. It is. Now we can go on to the gear and start making some real sense. Now, first of all, I told you that we're a berserker build. We are indeed. We are using 5 pieces of the Fury. Now, I'm using a mace because I want to go through as much resistance as possible. I'm also using a sharpened mace to make sure it goes through even more resistance. So any really tanky targets are going to get squished real quick. Now, shield stacking targets obviously can't be penetrated until their shield falls off. So I generally try and knock them down and then give them some hell. And then once the shield's off, I'll kill them. However, if you preference doing this another way, you can of course go Nirnhone because it does more damage to their flat shield. It's entirely up to you. Now, of course, you also want to make sure that you're using 5 pieces of this because what this does is it gives you max health, max stamina, and weapon damage. So some nice stats across the board, tanky and damage at the same time. But when you take critical damage, your weapon damage is increased by 30 for 6 seconds, stacking up to 25 times. Once you take lots and lots of crit damage, if this stays on you, because it can reapply every 6 seconds, so like if you get 1 stack and then get hit again within 6 seconds, it'll give you 2 stacks. If you get hit again within 6 seconds, it'll hit you 3. And this counts for dots and everything like that as well. So if you're taking loads and loads of dot damage, tick, 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 this will go up and build up really, really fast. You get to 25 times, that'll give you an increased 750 weapon damage just for being hit. So the more in the fight you are, the stronger you hit back, or the harder you hit back. It's very, very powerful. Make sure you got 5 pieces of this. Now the way I've done this is I've gone 1 on the weapon, because the weapon now counts as 2 pieces. It's a 2-hander, but it does count as 2 pieces in Summerset. And I've gone 3 jewelry. The jewelry are in healthy. You can change these to stamina if you prefer, but you're going to be squashier, so you're going to die really, really fast. And you can change one to bloodthirsty if you want, but again, you're going to lose health. So it's entirely up to you. I mean, I tried with bloodthirsty, it was quite nice, but it wasn't necessarily a game changer, but that's your call. It's entirely up to you. I preference the extra health just to make me a bit more tanky because I really like the berserker kind of role. But anyway, 1 2-handed weapon, a fury maul or a sword or an axe is entirely up to you, and 3 on the jewelry. Now the back bar, this is personal preference. You can use a master's bow if you can get hold of it. I preference sharpened, of course, because I'm going through as much resistance as I possibly can. I do use poisons occasionally, but they're not that important at the moment. That's kind of my own personal preference. If you don't want to use poisons, then just put a disease or poison glyph on the back bar. But what this does is when you poison injection the target, or poison arrow a target, you will do an increased 301 weapon damage to that target. So if I hit this dude over here with the poison injection, I'm going to hit him a lot harder. Now if I put it on him instead, and they're going to hit him a lot harder. So make sure you keep poison injection on the target at all times. However, the Fury, remember, has a 6-second timer. So if you get hit by a crit hit, and then another 4 seconds you get hit again and again and again, that's fine. But if you're on your back bar for more than 6 seconds, that bonus will fall off. So you only want to flick to your back bar really, really quickly, do whatever it is you've got to do, make sure it's not more than 6 seconds, and then carry on again. So resist, heal, carry on. Or poison, injection, carry on. It's up to you. Failing that, if that's too difficult and you can't keep an eye on your buffs, then of course you don't have to, and you can actually have this as a Fury bow instead, and that means you get the bonus on both bars and it will never ever fall off. It's entirely up to you. I preference the Master Bow for the extra damage because I generally don't stand the bar that too long, but again, your choice. Now, the second set is, of course, Bloodspawn. Now, we were using 1 piece before in previous versions of this build for the stam recovery, but since 2-handers now count as 2 pieces, we can use 2 full 5-piece sets and a monster set. So instead of just using 1 piece for the recovery, we're actually using 2 pieces so that if we take damage, and we want to take damage, we have a 6% chance for every single hit that we take, whether it be a dot tick or a physical hit, you have a chance to increase your physical and spell resistance by 6450 for 6 seconds and get you 14 ultimate. This has a 6-second cooldown as well, so this is very, very fast. Every 6 seconds you could get 14 ultimate. And if you're killing people as well, that's 20 ultimate a kill. You are going to get your Batman ultimate up really, really, really fast. So this makes you tanky, this gives you resources back, and then you can spam your ultimate a lot more often while you're in the thick of it. So the longer you're in the fight, the more damage you take, the more damage you can dish out. It's very, very strong. Now, the final set is not used very often. It wasn't used very often, at least, until this original build came out to start with. There's been lots of people trying to fiddle with the set and try to make it work. There's 2 places it's very, very strong. One is in PvP, and the other is in Maelstrom, because things die fast. Now, this set is from Ruins of Mazatan, and it is called Heem Jazz. What this does is it gives you stam recovery, it gives you max stamina, and it gives you a weapon crit chance, which is all obviously very, very nice. It gives us more resources, it gives us more resources back more often. It's really, really balanced set. But if anything dies within 28 meters, you don't have to kill it. If anything dies, friend or foe, within 28 meters, you will gain Major Berserk for 3 seconds, increasing your damage done by 25%. All of your damage is 25% stronger. Now that is why, if you kill him, like you execute him, he's now dead, you get 25% extra damage, hit him with the ultimate. He is going to die so fast. Then you execute him, he dies, go and find his mate. It's really, really strong. The more you kill, or the more other people kill within 28 meters, the more uptime you have on that bonus. If you're in a massive Zerg or a really big group, or Telvar farming, or in a sewers group or something or other, and there's ads dying everywhere or people dying everywhere, you will constantly get that major berserk buff, and it is disgusting. Just note, by the way, if you have rally running and you're in sneak, you get minor berserk if it crits. If you heavy attack that dude and kill him, you get major berserk while minor berserk is still running, and you can hit this one even harder. So, to recap over how everything works. If you take damage, you get ultimate back and resists, so you're tanky. If you get critically hit over and over and over, you will hit back with up to 750 extra weapon damage. Really strong. If you poison injection them, you will hit them for 301 extra weapon damage for all the damage you do, while that ability is active. And if you kill anything, you will also hit even harder with major berserk, just for something dying. So that is very, very strong. If you're in a keep battle, for example, there's guards dying, or if there's one really, really low health and you just quickly finish him off, there's your buff. Go and find someone to hit really quick and hurt them. It's really, really nuts. Now, I'm going to go over the champion points. These are not necessarily... Oh, I need to go over the traits first of all, actually. So, we have a weapon and spell damage glyph on here, sharpened. Use a poison or disease on the back bar with sharpened, or you can actually use a poison that you craft. It's up to you. Impen on every single item. I got reinforced there, but I want impen on everything, with stamina on everything as well. You want to go for a light and heavy shoulder and helmet in any order. Heavy here or light here, or heavy here or light here, as long as you got one of each. And also on the jewelry, you want to go weapon damage on everything. Again, the Munderstone, like I said to start with, you can go Lover if you want to go straight through their resist and rip them a new one, or if you're up against a lot of shield stackers, and that's predominantly what you find yourself facing, you can go for weapon damage instead and go with a warrior, and you do a lot more flat damage. It's entirely up to you. Now, champion points, that's where we were going. Start with the damage ones. 19 are blessed to give us a 5% increase to our heal and done. That is very important. We are going to get hit a lot, of course. We want to make sure our heals are quite strong. You can put some more into here if you want, but honestly, that seems to be quite comfy where it is at the moment. 56 into Master at Arms, 19 into Physical Weapons Expert. This will give us a nice flat damage to our direct damage and our light attacks, and obviously our heavies as well. And this does, of course, affect our light and heavies as well. So you get a nice double bonus there. We get the Butcher passive for having 75 points in his skill line, which means, of course, our light and heavy attacks do extra damage to targets that are low health. Remember, we want to kill them quick because we want that major berserk bonus. As soon as anything dies, we're going to hit like a truck. So people have to die quick. 23 into Thaumaturge. We are using some damage over time. Not much, but some. We're using our poison status effect if that ever procs, or if it fires from our snipe attack, our lethal arrow, which it will. It's guaranteed. And we also have our poison injection. It's an aggressive ability. It does do more damage at low health. But we don't want to pump too many points into Thaumaturge, of course, because most of our damage is direct. But we do want to get some bonus for it. 64 points into Mighty, because all damage we do is poison or physical. So this is very, very nice. We want to buff that up to 64 points for a 13% bonus there. Pearson, 3.2k extra physical penetration to make sure, again, we go through the target's resistance. And, of course, 31 into Precise Strikes. We do want to make sure that we sometimes crit, depending on what we're up against. And if we do, we want to make sure, obviously, that increases the damage done. Or the healing done. So if we get a heal that is critical from Vigor, or from our rally, or from our passive, in fact, from our red diamond passive for Imperial, we can make sure that the heal is larger. And of course, this contributes as well. It counts as healing done, so that will also buff it by another 5%. 72 points into Ironclad to reduce the incoming damage that we take from direct damage. We're going to get hit with shit tons of that in PvP. This is very, very important. 38 points into crit resistance. This will give us a flat 1017, which will actually stack on top of our impenetrable gear, giving us a really nice bonus to incoming resistance to critical damage. So that's really, really nice as well. 43 into flat reduction to physical poison or disease damage, and the same here for flame, frost, shock, and magic. At the same time, if any of them are damage over time, thick skin will also contribute to 14% of that reduction as well. It's really, really handy. And of course, as a passive here, you must get any ability you use in the next 5 seconds after breaking free that costs stamina will be 80% less in its cost. So it's very, very nice indeed. Use something massive like a heal or something really heavy, a Wreck and Blow or something. Or a Dizzy Swing rather, because that's the morph we're using. Expert Defender, 6% reduction to light and heavy attacks from players. We are going to get hit by them. We are going to make sure we need to reduce the damage incoming. Ironclad does work because that is towards lights and heavies, but remember, not all of them are direct. Some of them are channeled, like a heavy attack from a resto or a heavy attack from a lightning staff. So we do want to reduce that damage. It can be quite nasty. This will increase your healing received. So any heals that you receive, so your rally, your vigor, your red diamond, they are healing done, of course, because you did them, but that you also receive the heal, so this does stack with it. So we have a 3% bonus to healing received here. We also have a 12% bonus to healing received in our Draconic Power skill line for having an ability active. We also have 5% increase to our healing done, and we have a crit chance, crit damage or heal increase from our crits in our other passives as well in precise strikes. So they all stacked together quite nicely. 28 points into Warlord so that we reduce the cost of break free. We're going to get stunned left, right, and center and reduce the cost of it, otherwise you're stuffed. You can put more in this if you want, but I put a lot more into dodge roll than break free. Entirely up to you. 75 points into tenacity. We are going to heavy attack. We do want to make sure we get as much resources back as possible. Any more points into here, by the way, are going to be wasted because you won't get an extra 1%. That will actually contribute because the decimal points don't count. You won't get an increased 1% on top of this until you hit 100 points. You're going to waste so many points that you could use elsewhere. So 75 is just fine here. Same for this as well. Increased stam recovery. 75 points, no more. In here, 72 points into dodge roll. We are using that as our main way to avoid damage. Other than that, you can obviously block. You can split this with Shadow Ward and Tumbling if you want, if you are blocking a lot more than most. Although I don't block that often, just with really quick fire stuff. Most of the time I'm dodge rolling, although I do block. And also, if you find yourself not dodge rolling that much and you find yourself getting stunned more often, you can switch your points over to here instead. But honestly, for me, I preference this. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully that wasn't too boring, and hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to play this particular build. Again, just remember some very important points. First of all, you can change your food if you prefer it. Secondly, make sure you always have Major Defile on the target from that. Make sure you always have Poison Injection on the target so that your Master's Bow is increased, and of course you give that Execute boost to the target, so when they go low health they take even more damage. Make sure you're at range when you use your crit rush, and make sure, for God's sake, something dies. If something dies, go really fast to try and find something else to kill. You want to get stuck in, you want to get hit, you want to make sure that you keep your rally efficient, so don't spam it at 30 seconds. Use it like 10-15 seconds or so, or close to running out. And obviously your Batman ultimate, time it very, very well so that you can use this when your damage bonus is at its highest. It is all about kind of getting stuck in, taking damage, surviving, keep those resist buffs up, and making sure that the longer you're in the fight, the bigger your buffs get. When that happens, you are going to be destroying stuff. It's kind of a build-up thing. Again, on the back bar, don't stay on there for too long, because if you do, you're going to lose your Fury proc. Unless you have a Fury bow. That's up to you. Anyway, I'm waffling, so I'm going to go. Thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support, and if you are not subscribing, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you would like to support the channel outside of YouTube, there are some links in the description for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website XynodeGaming.com, where all the written guides are, and of course there's a new forum there as well if you want to kind of get stuck into that. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.